In Fable of the Dreamweaver Part 2, Adelgis wanders the realm of dreams like a quiet bard, weaving unicorns and castles for Biyu while confronting the darkness of memory and choice. In the impossible trial of worth, Ezril and Trent challenge fate itself, measuring hope against a monolith and surviving a flood-born miracle. And in the Hydra's fifth head, pain becomes ritual as sacred numbers and severed heads blur the line between ceremony and sacrifice. These tales twist magic, grief, and quiet courage into something unforgettable.
Welcome back to the Frith Guild podcast. I'm your host, Eric.
And I'm co-host, Scott.
And today we'll be going over part 2 of the Arcanist Fables, taking a little bit of a break between chapters of the Grandmaster Arcanist. And we will be looking at just a few stories today about from the Arcanist Fables. And just so that everybody's aware, we have about 10 days from when this video gets posted to vote for Shami and Dragon Con nomination. So please get out there and vote if you have not. And with that, let's get into today's section. And we're going to start with Fable of the Dreamweaver Part 2. And we are basically on the Frith Guild Manor, going towards the World Serpent lair. Adelgis is in his room and he's describing about how he listens to dreams and how his magic is kind of culminating. He's talking about how if he listens as a broad spectrum, it sounds like a symphony. If he goes to a specific individual, he can hear a specific tune or specific instrument, he says. And again, he can go into their dreams, see how they are playing out. The other thing I thought about was that Adelgis is very quiet, and yes, he can hear thoughts. He can already hear what people are saying, but this is a very intimate thing for him to hear their thoughts. So I imagine there's a lot that he doesn't want to talk or say because one, they're it's probably maybe awkward to have a one-way conversation.
Yeah, it's also tough because you have to be careful that you don't bring up what they're thinking and not what they're saying. So if you are having a conversation or listening, you have to be very self-conscious of what did they actually tell me and not what do I know is what they're actually feeling, because they may not want to get into that for a lot of reasons.
And again, does their internal monologue sound different from their voice?
It's a good question. I mean, I feel like their internal monologue would sound the way they think their voice sounds. And I know when I hear my voice in a recording, I'm like, gross.
Same.
So I feel like that's probably the difference of it, how they hear it versus how we would hear it. I don't know. It's a good question.
I feel like that's a pretty solid possibility right there. So one thing that Adelgis is excited about is that he gets to continue to make dreams for Biyu about the unicorns and castles and princesses, parties, and all that fun stuff. And he kind of gives us a little bit more backstory on Biyu and why she's so self-conscious about being useful, not getting sold off, that kind of thing. Because we find out that her parents sold her to Dread Pirate Redbeard.
Yeah,
Biyu,
cool.
You didn't need your parents anyways. You're fine. And this ends up bringing Adelgis to another thought of how would it be if he could he remove memories? Could he change them? Because when he's making the dreams for Biyu, she has both of her eyes. And this is one of those Thiessen thoughts that I had of okay, this is I could see Thiessen thinking about this too. The part that differs between them is Adelgis would only want to do this to a willing person. And there we have our separation of Thiessen and Adelgis. They come from the same blood, but they definitely do not think alike. We also get to see that Biyu gets to include him in her dreams. So he's actually a very well-dressed scholar in her dreams. And she is having a prince from the Argo Empire come to marry her. And she wants to have gifts for him and ready to go. And she realizes that he doesn't have somebody himself. So she starts asking him as a way to help him find his happiness. as a thank you for all of the dreams that he has created for her. Now, he is talking with Felicity throughout the dream about trying to grow his magic. He's decided that he's done everything he possibly could with the dream. He's made it as realistic and he can change things and he can do all this fun stuff. So he needs to try to do something else. And Felicity suggests that he not try to reach somebody that's close, but actually reach out to somebody a lot further away. And mind you, we're heading due east, I believe it was, away from Varden. So getting very far away from people. And he decides he's going to try to reach out to Cinna and see if he can see her dreams, because he's the closest connected to her. It actually works.
Like, powerful.
Right. He's like, actually, that was really easy. I could have been doing this all along. I didn't realize that I could, or I didn't think I would be able to. Like, damn. And next he moves on to, okay, well, if I can see Cinna's dreams, maybe I can reach out and see my father's dreams so that I can see what he's planning, what the Autarch is planning, and so that he can make plans to disrupt that and help their side. He ends up finding the Abyssal Leech that was suckling on him for so long instead of Thiessen. And he's getting bits and pieces of the conversation that Thiessen is having. He's talking to whoever the Arcanist is that bonded to the leech. And Thiessen does end up confirming that he has been working with the Second Ascension for a very long time. Obviously, long enough to have the leech be nursed to health so that he can therefore detach and so on and so forth. And that, we find out that we need to keep this leech alive because, one, it is the only one in existence anymore, and two, we need to find out how to alter God Arcanist magic with this leech. So that is the end goal, and that ends the Dreamweaver Part 2, and we will go into the last part here once we get to the end of Grandmaster Arcanist.
The next one we're going to cover is the Fable of the Impossible Trial of Worth. This is the story of the Keeper of Corpses and his Trial of Worth. And we do get this kind of flip-flop back-forth perspective between Ezril and the Keeper of Corpses. And we start off with the Keeper of Corpses. Pretty much people are coming to bond with him. And the response is pretty much, I'm just going to eat you instead. There's no real Trial of Worth. It's just like, I'm going to eat you and create more ghouls. That's how I get my corpses. Flipping sides to Ezril. Ezril is disabled and weak. He is out kind of roaming about the village. There are kids that come looking for him to bring him back to this medicine house to keep him safe. Essentially, it's like an orphanage for the really, really sick, and he's about as sick as they get. So he has been living there for a very long time. They do find out that there are Arcanists that have come to town. Ezril is desperate to be an Arcanist and feels really held back by his injuries and feel like that's going to be the reason he never is. He plots with Trent, who's another one at the medicine house, and they decide that they're going to go out and try and bond with this creature that the Arcanists are. So the Mystic Seekers rush past them. They find the Keeper of Corpses first, and they want to take him to bond with Prince. The Keeper of Corpses, in response, eats them. There's a fight that ensues, which results in the Keeper of Corpses then eating the other people, completely destroying them. It is not a competition at all. And these are trained Arcanists. Ezril and Trent walk out onto the aftermath of this battle, and they ask the Keeper of Corpses for a Trial of Worth. He responds that he pretty much doesn't have one. He just kills everybody that comes, and they kind of goad him into allowing them because he doesn't think that they'll ever be able to achieve it. So he tells them that they have to move this giant boulder and they have a month to do it. They start planning. Trent is thinking that he's going to have to dig these giant trenches. I don't know if that was a name metaphor intentional or not, Trent with the trenches, but he realizes that this boulder is way too big and that even with a month's worth of work, they are disabled when it comes down to it. They're not going to be able to dig everything out. Ezril has this different approach. He essentially comes every day. The Keeper of Corpses see him come. He takes measurements. He doesn't actually do anything with the boulder. He's just kind of like poking around with the ruler. But on the second to last day, the Keeper of Corpses is kind of getting excited. He's like, my month is almost up. I get 2 more corpses that I get to consume. And out of nowhere, there's this giant wall of water that comes rushing down. So it turns out that the dam broke. And when the dam broke, the river flooded, and the flood came and moved the boulder. And since the boulder was moved, Ezril says that he completed the trial worth. He was able to move the boulder. It turns out that all the measurements that he was taking, he was essentially determining where they needed the water to go. He then convinced the town that they would be better off breaking the dam, letting the water come this way, essentially rerouting the whole river, and then using that flood to move the boulder so that he could bond. So one, shout out to him for convincing a town that they need to move a river. Like,
hell yeah!
They took it, like, whatever he gave to them was so good that they, like, this kid that they wouldn't believe is now suddenly good enough to give them some formula of why this is better. So big shout out to him there. And he is now suddenly a, tier 4.5 Arcanist.
When we were talking about him taking measurements, I thought it was like a 12-inch ruler.
That's what I pictured too. Like, I just picture takes one from like his classroom, one of the little plastic ones, moving it along.
Secondly, with having convincing the town to break the dam, like, this kid could probably sell ice to Eskimos.
He's a genius.
Kudos to him. And then for our last fable today, we're going to go over the fable of the Hydra's 5th head. Now, we do see a little bit of this in book 5 on our way out to the World Serpent. We have Hexa going out to the pond that is on Gentle's back with Raisin. And it's basically her internal monologue talking about how foolish it is to fear pain, and that pain is essentially just the warning that the body is harmed, and that we need to stop doing whatever it is we're doing that cause it. She feels like an outcast because she's surrounded by people from the islands. She's not understood with how her customs are, all the scarring that she has. And again, in her town, she is pretty much a hero of the amount of scars that she has. They are out here because they are getting excited to get the 5th head of the Hydra Raisin. The 5th head is basically it's called King Head, every 5 heads, and it has, it's a little bit longer. It becomes the main mouth that talks. It has horns, and it also has spikes coming down from its jaw, so it looks cool. It's got a beard that can stab people. Hell yeah. Not saying the rest of it isn't dangerous, but damn it, I would love to get a kill with a chin stab. Anyways. We talk about how 5 is a very sacred number, and that they are performing this on the 5th day of the 5th month. And that basically the number 5 comes up a lot of places. 5 fingers, 5 toes. And again, so many more. Again, 5th head being a very significant one for the king head. One thing that I thought about when I was reading about this was, like, is there a strategy to choosing which head in particular you cut off to make the king's head out of?
You're really annoying today. You're gonna get it.
I'm mad at you. Hack. Okay, fair enough.
There's probably better logic out there, but that's all I got.
But, like, are they outlining the body of Raisin, and then I'm going way far into the weeds with this, and I'm sorry. It's just the way that my brain works. Do you cut the inner head? Do you cut the outer? One of the outer heads? Like, does it matter? So, I digress. As Hexa finished cutting off the head, she is watching it kind of reform. She gives the old head a big old hug, and as she's watching the new heads reform, she realizes that she can use the old head as a way to barter with Jose and make herself a trinket. She thought she was alone on Gentle's back, but realized that Vethiga witnessed this whole thing, and she's kind of freaked out because she just cut off one of her Hydra's heads. So she's about to send Aket to the guild to alert them, but Hexa kind of convinces her to wait for a couple minutes, starts to explain that, like, in Regal Heights, this is a normal thing. And, again, we're having a fifth head grow out of nowhere, so connect the dots here. Vethiga actually mentions that she grew up close to Regal Heights, and now Hexa is feeling a little bit better about herself. She has somebody with a similar background. And not surprisingly, Hexa is very straightforward about asking Vethiga out on a date. She's like, we're going to go get drinks over candlelight, and we're going to do all of the things that entails. So Vethiga gives her that smile, like, we know all is good. They are going to get to know each other well. And they're having this conversation again, all the while Hexa is holding the cut off head from Raisin.
Not creepy at all.
Or I figured, like, snuggling it, like...
Give you a big hug, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Covered in blood and all the bodily fluids that came out of it. So that is the fable of the Hydra's fifth head. And we will continue to do these. Again, we're going to do another section of that coming up at the end of Grandmaster Arcanist. We will continue next week with chapters 26 through 30 of Grandmaster Arcanist. And with that, Scott, do you have anything else you'd like to add today?
Go vote.
Yes, go vote. We're almost there. Let's do it for Shammy. She's way too good for us. She drops books out of nowhere for us to read and consume. So, with that, we will end today's episode, and thank you all for listening.